start to go dark as well. In fact, we're starting to see a few areas entering the loop here. In fact, if you're up in River Oaks over towards Montrose, West U coming close to the medical center here very soon. The Heights, that's the area that's going to see that leading edge first. Remember, when it comes to thunderstorms, the leading edge always going to be the most dangerous part of the storm. So once it reaches you, it is going to be rather intense. I do want to stress, though, because this storm is moving, if you don't like to be on the road when it's raining, I know I'm a major chicken with it, please just wait. These storms are going to be passing by. They shouldn't be in your area for very long at all. We're going to put this in motion where you can see that storm. It's forming and it's continuing to push its way into the Houston metro area. But it's not just the metro that's being impacted. In fact, right now, I think the strongest part of this storm, just based on electricity and lightning alone, that's going to be on the northern side. So we're talking areas up by Spring Valley and continuing. You can see Highland Heights. That's where we're dealing with that purple color and also frequent lightning strikes. So as this continues to work its way towards the east, very soon it's going to be impacting areas like Hawthorne Place, the Hardy Toll Road, also the East Tex Freeway. We're already starting to see heavy downpours on 45 North. That's going to be a concern. The highways quickly start to get messy with these thunderstorms, and pretty soon that's going to be heading towards East Houston. So really all of Houston, just be aware this storm is going to be moving in very fast, but just as fast as it moves in, it's going to start to move out. So once it reaches your destination, please just hunker down, wait for this storm to pass. Even though it's not considered a severe storm, the fact that the National Weather Service has put this special weather statement on it means it is just close to being severe. 40-mile-per-hour winds, that is going to be feeling incredibly intense. Otherwise, we're starting to track a few other showers popping up, and I do want to talk about the rain showers because this time of year, any shower can quickly flare up. Next thing you know, that shower has strengthened into a strong thunderstorm. That's exactly what's happened with this storm that's currently working its way into the Houston area. So because of that, we are going to take a look at this shower that's just popped up. You're going to see it just to the west of Kingwood there. Now, this one does have the possibility of rapidly strengthening like we've seen down to the south. We're going to continue to monitor that shower, but really the primary concern here is going to be this line of thunderstorms. Lamar Terrace right now seeing an intense downpour. You can see that pink color. That indicates the possibility of some hail. By the way, if you do see hail, we would love to see your storm report. If you can safely send it in, click to houston.com/pins. We're going to be showing your storm photos on air and online. It really helps us know what we're seeing on radar if it's actually translating to the ground. Lamar High School kind of on that leading edge, and very soon that leading edge is going to be approaching Herman Park, Texas Southern University, NRG, likely going to be seeing those thunderstorms now very soon as well. Continuing down to the south, you can see areas around Almeda Plaza starting to see some of that rain transition into the heavier downpours. That's going to be the case very soon. This is going to be advancing into Sunnyside, Brookhaven. If you're in these locations, now is not the time to get in your car. Now is the time to just take a little break and wait for these storms to pass, because like I said, they are moving pretty quick. The latest scan showing a little bit more orange and yellow in this center region here. That's a good sign that portions of this storm are kind of starting to break down already. I call them popcorn thunderstorms because they pop up and then they rain themselves out and we start to see them dissipate rather quickly. However, they can continue to pop up, and that's what we're seeing in this far northern flank of the storm. Highland Heights, that deep purple color, that is a very strong storm. That's where we have the possibility of seeing some small hail and some damaging winds. This is going to continue to push its way off to the east at about 15 miles per hour. So if we put a storm track just on where we're seeing the most intense, well, let's actually take this out a little bit farther just so we can get a few more cities in here. If we put a storm track on the most intense part of this storm, moving to the due east at 15 miles per hour, it's going to be at Cloverleaf at 332. That has already happened here. It is currently 235. So what we're trying to say is that storm is pushing off to the east at 15 miles per hour. As it does, you're going to see conditions deteriorate, and then they're going to start to get a lot better. It has the possibility of producing 40-mile-per-hour winds and about half-inch sized hail. Now, when we talk about hail sizes, anything above an inch, that's when you can start to see damage to your cars, to really homes as well. But when we're talking about half inch, it's going to be loud, it's going to be noisy and uncomfortable, but thankfully that shouldn't be causing too much in terms of actual damage. So the leading edge of this storm now approaching the Montrose area. It's also going to be approaching the Houston Zoo here very soon. Very soon it's going to be at Herman Park, and then it's going to be in the medical center as well. That means the downtown area, you probably have 5 minutes maximum before the leading edge of this storm pushes in. And then once it's there, no more than 30 minutes, and conditions should start to improve significantly. Otherwise, though, we're continuing to track this storm, really starting to separate here. You'll notice a big difference between the northern flank of this storm, frequent lightning strikes just north of Hershire Village there, but then south of Bel Air, also starting to see quite a bit of electricity going on. In fact, a closer look is going to show you Westwood Park down towards Palmella Heights. That's where we're going to be seeing the heaviest downpours on the south side. This is the portion of the storm that's going to be moving into Brookhaven and Sunnyside. One thing we're also continuing to monitor is the possibility of more of these thunderstorms. We were expecting these thunderstorms to form, and if they start with just a shower, then it's going to intensify. So we are monitoring these showers out in far southwest portions of Fort Bend County. Here's something interesting that just popped up. Look at this. We are showing a lightning strike just to the south of Channelview. Now, you'll notice we're not really tracking any storms north of Deer Park. The concern here is that lightning can strike 10 miles away from a thunderstorm. This is why we urge you, if you can hear thunder, you need to be heading inside. We're seeing several reports of lightning coming down where it's not actively raining. Remember, lightning is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That is something you do not want to mess with. So if you can hear the thunder, you need to be heading inside. You can see the most electric part of the storm is going to be on the far northern side here. That's going to be impacting areas from the Houston Heights, continuing up to the Highland Heights. As it makes its way to the east, this is going to continue to cause some pretty big problems on the roads, already impacting the North Freeway, the Hardy Toll Road, pretty soon the East Tex Freeway, at least from Emerson Place down towards the Loop, is going to be having some big problems. So if we zoom out, I do want to say the actual alert area where we have this special weather statement, it's really confined to inside of the Beltway. In fact, this entire storm system inside the Beltway, the leading edge starting to push its way inside the loop. So if we put this in motion one more time to show you that movement, a little bit difficult to see because it started just as a shower about an hour ago, started to intensify into a thunderstorm, and then it started to work its way towards the east. So right now, thankfully, the middle section of this storm is actually falling apart. So it's possible that downtown Houston is not going to see the heaviest of the storms, but north side of town and just south of town is looking to see some pretty intense thunderstorms here over the next 15 to 20 minutes. So if we take a closer look down towards the south and we press now, you're going to see the Houston Zoo about to see some heavy downpours. West University certainly seeing it. Rice University dealing with that as well. Myrtle already seeing it. NRG having the heavy downpours. Sunnyside, you're coming up next as well. So let's put a storm track on this because the southern edge of this storm is going to be approaching Hobby Airport. It's a Monday. A lot of folks may be flying home after a long weekend. And I expect Hobby to have at least some sort of delay as these thunderstorms pass overhead. It's not going to cause major disruptions to the afternoon, but it definitely will cause some delays within the next hour. So if we put a storm track on the leading edge of this storm, making its way towards Hobby Airport, it's going to be making its way to Hobby by 3:07. So Hobby Airport about 25 minutes. South Houston by 3:17. Pasadena 3:24. Pasadena Memorial High School 3:32. So this storm is not considered severe, but it is a very intense storm. It's one of those thunderstorms where if we didn't have a National Weather Service and you were inside the storm, you would most certainly think it's severe because it is intense. I stepped outside of the studio just moments ago ago to feel what it felt like. It was intense. You could hear the pounding on the roof, dark outside. That's what's going to be rolling into your area. And we do have the possibility of seeing some small hail as well as this system continues to advance its way towards the east. Now let's go to the northern side of this storm. Thankfully, it is far south of Bush Airport here, but I would not be surprised if we start to see some disruptions at Bush as well. Of course, most of our disruptions are going to be on the road. You have to imagine that the West Loop right now, always notoriously slow, is probably experiencing some pretty big issues. If we take a closer look at the northern side of this storm, seeing speckles of hot pink mixed in with that red, I'll tell you what, folks are definitely going slow on the highway right now if they're stuck in this storm because this is intense. The northern edge of this storm that's really showing the most intensity is going to be making its way towards Edgeworth Place soon, Calgary Woods, North Shadyville, Dryersdale, and East Houston. Let's talk about the locations that are currently in the thick of it. That's going to be areas from the Hardy Toll Road and the North Freeway between the Beltway and the North Loop. You can see over towards the Heights, dealing with that intense red and purple colors. This is not how a lot of folks want to spend their Monday afternoon, but I do want to say this is going to do a number on our temperatures. When you have these afternoon showers, it's going to make this afternoon actually really pleasant once these storms have passed by. But for now, intense heavy downpours continuing to push its way now into downtown Houston. Thankfully, Houston, though, kind of going to be catching a break. You can see the heaviest stuff is going to be just to the north of downtown, but also just to the south of downtown. This storm is really split in two. So we're continuing to track both edges of this storm, but we're also monitoring for more development. Take a look at this over towards Missouri City. We're in Fort Bend County here around the Sugar Land area, starting to see another thunderstorm pop up. This is what we expect to see. So not to get too nerdy, but we are on the live stream here. These thunderstorms are called diurnal thunderstorms, and we expect to see these every single day as we go throughout the summer. So diurnal is the opposite of nocturnal, like when we talk about possums. Basically what we're saying is these storms, they thrive during the heat of the day. So we'll start off the morning quiet. No thunderstorms. As we start to really heat up, we'll see those thunderstorms emerge, starting as showers, and with the heat, they use it as energy. They'll quickly become thunderstorms. But then once we get towards the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, these thunderstorms will start to taper off. So watching these thunderstorms move to the east, as they push into your location, it's going to feel rather intense. In fact, I want to bring in our storm tracker out on the roads. This is currently at I-10 in Voss. You'll notice it's not currently raining there, but as it pushed by, it dropped really heavy rainfall. Roads are slick, and I'm sure you guys caught that. That was a lightning strike in the distance. So thankfully, we are seeing cars go slow. Remember, if your windshield wipers are on, you need to have your lights on as well. Even though it's the middle of the day, that's just a really basic safety rule there. Cars moving slower, thankfully not dealing with any flooding or ponding on the road. But remember, when you're driving on slick roads, even if you think you can handle it, it's less about you. It's more about your vehicle and your tires. It takes longer for your tires to stop when you're on a wet road. So that's why we stress space out, slow down out there. It is going to be a bit messy, but thankfully it's not going to be staying messy as we go through the entire afternoon. We just got a new radar scan in, and you can see it too, right? The separation of this storm. Thankfully, it looks like areas really in River Oaks, Montrose, over towards Houston and Edo, you might have lucked out. You might have missed the bulk of this thunderstorm activity. Unfortunately, though, areas south of town and just north of town, you are still going to be seeing some of the most intense portions of this thunderstorm. Right now, the southern flank of this storm impacting areas like NRG to Myrtle, Sunnyside, Brookhaven, even continuing down towards the South Beltway 8 here. This storm continuing to advance. As for lightning, that is incredibly frequent. It's not considered a severe element. That's just how the National Weather Service classifies it. But remember, lightning is extremely dangerous and deadly. I know it's summertime, the kids are out of school, but if your kids are playing in the yard, trying to have a pool party, bring them inside. This storm is not going to be lasting all afternoon. In fact, once it gets to you within 30 minutes, you should be drying out. And it's also going to feel a lot better because it's going to give a little bit of a cool down. So there are some benefits to going inside and waiting for these storms to pass. Continuing up to the north, this storm actually not producing as much lightning as we were previously tracking. Certainly encouraging news there, impacting the north loop between Aldine in Hawthorne Place. This is going to continue to push towards North Shadydale very soon, Calgary Woods, eventually making it to East Houston as well. So this is the storm we're primarily focusing on because this is the storm that the National Weather Service has indicated is capable of producing 40-mile-per-hour winds and the possibility of half-inch sized hail. Now, any thunderstorm we see today is going to have that capability. In fact, I was showing you just some showers out near Kingwood. Well, as we forecasted here, it's now starting to produce some lightning strikes just to the south of Roman Forest along the East Tex Freeway here. We are expecting this storm to also start to bubble up and gain intensity as it makes its way to the east. This is what we're going to be tracking not just today, but quite frankly, every single day for the upcoming 10 days. We've got rain chances in our forecast every single day. So if we take a broader look, you're going to notice some of the strongest storms actually impacting areas closer to Lake Charles here. Port Arthur also dealing with a special weather statement. And look north of Lumberton here. This is going to be north of Beaumont, so closer to the Louisiana border. We're starting to see some really intense storms out to the east. And as we go through the day today, actually, the Weather Prediction Center had put out a risk of seeing flooding primarily for our far southeast area. So as these storms push east, we are expecting them to continue to intensify. We're actually going to switch this over to our national radar here because I want to show you the Storm Prediction Center, which thankfully does not have us underneath a severe weather threat. I do want to show you our temperatures though to see if we're starting to see any sort of cool down. Right now it's not reflecting the cool down, likely because these storms have just started to pop up, but we're going to be showing you those temperatures coming up at 3 o'clock today, and you're going to see a difference between the metro's temperatures. Sorry, water bottle fell in the studio. Between the metro's temperatures and locations that haven't seen the rainfall. Anyways, let's get back to our current radar because we still do have a strong storm pushing through the Houston metro area. This is not considered a severe storm, but it's still a storm that's intense, packing a punch, heavy downpours, the possibility of half-inch sized hail that's about pea size to nickel size, and 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts, all going to be possible with this thunderstorm that is moving its way to the east at 15 miles per hour. About 15 minutes ago, we looked at how much rainfall had come down, and you can expect to see up to an inch of rain as these storms are passing overhead. So right now, the stronger side of that storm, now going to be that southern flank, pushing its way towards Hobby Airport. Eventually, it's going to be reaching Pasadena and South Houston. Now, if this is able to hold together, we've been watching as these storms kind of fluctuating with intensity. This storm will continue to push off towards Pasadena, Deer Park, LaPorte. That's the question. Will it continue to hold together? And are we going to see more thunderstorms pop up that are going to be of greater concern? Hopefully, the answer is no, but it's always a possibility. This time of year in Houston, we really have all of the ingredients. When you talk about thunderstorm development, some of the most important ingredients are going to be the possibility of seeing moisture. We've got ample moisture. We've also got tons of energy. The sun, when we heat up so much, that creates available energy for these thunderstorms to use. Instability, and that's why we're going to be seeing these storms pop up pretty much every single day. You can see as this storm makes its way to the east, really coming up is going to be Hobby, but I want to show you who's kind of getting in the clear. On the back side of this, we're seeing areas like Westwood Park. You're likely seeing the rain starting to let up, Bel Air High School as well. Now, after the heaviest of the storms pass, it does look like we're going to see some brief lingering showers. that won't be lasting all day. Continuing, I want to bring you up towards the northern side of this storm. Areas in the heights already starting to see improvement there. Now, we're likely seeing moderate rain showers. That's only to be expected for maybe the next 10 minutes. And then conditions are going to be much better. Where they're still looking at pretty intense downpours, that's going to be on the north side of town. You'll notice not as many lightning strikes as we had been tracking. Less electricity is a general sign that we use in meteorology as less intensity. Certainly a good sign that the northern side of this storm seems to be falling apart. These storms do typically rain themselves out, but still this storm pushing its way towards Calgary Woods, North Shadydale here very soon. This will be making its way out of the special weather statement. One thing that's going to be interesting to see, will the National Weather Service reissue the special weather statement? Let's talk about this together. I don't think the northern side of this is going to be within that special weather statement. That's because that portion of the storm kind of falling apart. But I think this storm down to the south, this cell certainly is capable of producing gusty winds, small hail, and really intense frequent lightning strikes. Look at how much electricity we have. In fact, if we turn on our lightning counter here, we're seeing about 120 lightning strikes, of which nearly all of them are from this cell. We're seeing 103 lightning strikes just within this frame. So this is the southern side of the storm. That's just between the south loop and the south portion of Beltway 8. It's advancing its way towards Hobby Airport to the east at about 15 miles per hour. As it exits this white box here, we're going to be in contact with the National Weather Service to see if they're going to reissue this special weather statement. Now, the actual statement in place through 3:15, but these thunderstorms are moving so fast, they're going to be exiting the box before it has time to expire. So let's put this in motion, talk about what we've seen, what we're expecting as we go through the next several hours, as we get you through that afternoon commute, daycare pickup, whatever it is you have going on. We're going to see showers form and then they quickly intensify, but watch this. So we started to see showers. The storm really did look like it was at its peak when it was passing between the far west loop and the west beltway. Now the northern edge of that storm really falling apart, but where we have a lot of intensity, that's going to be on the south side of town. This is impacting portions of 288 as it dives its way towards Hobby Airport. Of course, that also means it's going to be impacting portions of the Gulf Freeway. The main concern is going to be the Gulf Freeway between the south loop and the beltway. So this is where we're going to be monitoring for the possibility of some really slow going traffic, the possibility of accidents as well as that storm quickly barrels its way through. It's certainly packing a punch. I'll tell you what, I would not want to be driving in this storm if I was out there. Taking a broader look, you can see other than that one cell we're tracking inside the downtown Houston area, we're not seeing a tremendous amount of other activity. We do have that thunderstorm we're watching. That's going to be along the East Tex Freeway near the Grand Parkway there by just to the north of Kingwood by Roman Forest. Starting to see a few more lightning strikes here, but so far we're not seeing anything too concerning. Continuing down to the south, this is going to be the storm rolling its way into the Hobby area. That's likely going to be causing flight delays as it does. Heavy downpours, the possibility of 40-mile-per-hour winds, and half-inch size hail. That's going to be about the size of a pea to a nickel. So that's something we're going to continue to monitor. And by the way, we have a newscast coming up here at 3. So producers, let me know if you'd like us to take any sort of break before that newscast. Otherwise, we're going to keep covering these thunderstorms as they make their way to the east. We're going to continue to monitor this, and as they do, we're actually going to hop off here, but we're going to be back here in 5 minutes for our newscast coming up at 3. At 3 o'clock, we're going to walk you through the current storms. I'm going to take you through our future track, what you can expect through the rest of the afternoon, and thankfully, these storms not going to last forever. So we leave you with a final look at the radar. Those storms continuing to make their way to the east. Remember, don't get on the roads. Once it reaches you, just wait 30 minutes. Conditions will get much better. We will see you right back here at 3 o'clock.